Every now and then, a song climbs to the top of the charts, and the entire music industry scratches its head in disbelief. Songs so strange, so bizarre, so absolutely ridiculous that nobody in their right mind would have bet a single dollar on their success.
You never was my girl. You can burn my clothes up when I'm gone.
And yet, against all odds, they became #1 hits. These are the songs that prove the music business knows absolutely nothing about what people actually want. These are the 10 unbelievable #1 hits that should have been complete disasters.
My baby left town.
The year was 1966. The Beatles had just released Revolver. The Beach Boys dropped Pet Sounds. Bob Dylan gave us Blonde on Blonde. It was arguably the greatest year in rock history. And somehow, wedged between classics by the Supremes and the Beach Boys, the #1 song in America was a vaudeville throwback that sounded like it belonged in the Victorian era. The new vaudeville band was not even a real band.
A week away from Chicago.
It was a group of British session musicians assembled specifically to record this one novelty song. The singer used a megaphone to make his voice sound like an old gramophone recording. The whole thing was a joke, a deliberate parody of music hall songs from 60 years earlier. Nobody expected it to chart. Nobody expected anyone to care. And yet Winchester Cathedral knocked serious artists off the top of the charts and became one of the most baffling #1s of the decade.
You stood and you watched us.
It won a Grammy for Best Contemporary Rock and Roll Recording, which proves that even the Grammy voters had no idea what was happening in 1966.
'Cause I would know.
In the spring of 1968, America was torn apart by the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., riots in the streets, and the escalating war in Vietnam. And the #1 song in the country was a maudlin, weepy ballad about a man reminiscing about his dead wife while staring at a tree she planted. Bobby Goldsboro recorded Honey with tears streaming down his face. The song was so sentimental, so shamelessly manipulative, that critics savaged it as the worst kind of schmaltz.
Being good. And
Rolling Stone would later rank it among the worst songs of all time. None of that mattered. Honey sold over 1 million copies in its first 10 days. It stayed at #1 for 5 weeks and became one of the biggest hits of 1968. Audiences did not want protest songs or psychedelia. They wanted to cry about a dead woman and her angel tree. The music industry learned a valuable lesson about never underestimating the power of pure, unapologetic sentimentality. In 1969, while Woodstock was defining a generation, and the Rolling Stones were playing Altamont, the biggest song in America was performed by cartoon characters who did not exist. The Archies were a fictional band from a Saturday morning cartoon show. Sugar Sugar was written by professional songwriters and performed by anonymous studio musicians. There was no band to tour, no interviews to give, no artistic vision whatsoever. Just pure, calculated bubblegum pop designed to sell records to children.
Sugar, oh honey, honey.
Record executives assumed it would be a minor novelty hit at best. Instead, Sugar Sugar became the #1 song of the entire year. It outsold the Beatles. It outsold the Rolling Stones. It outsold every legitimate artist working in 1969. The music industry was horrified. Critics were appalled. And millions of Americans happily sang along to a song about how a girl was like candy. Performed by drawings on a television screen. Sometimes the simplest, most cynical approach wins. Carl Douglas was a Jamaican-born singer living in London who had never had a hit record. In 1974, he went into the studio to record a serious disco song called I Wanna Give You My Everything. They finished early and had 10 minutes of studio time left over. The producer suggested they quickly record a throwaway novelty song Douglas had written as a joke about the martial arts movie craze. They knocked out Kung Fu Fighting in about 10 minutes, using the same backing track they had just recorded.
Everybody was kung fu fighting,
and adding some hastily improvised sound effects. The label released I Wanna Give You My Everything as the A-side. Radio stations flipped the record over and started playing the B-side instead. Kung Fu Fighting went to #1 in America and Britain and sold over 11 million copies worldwide. Carl Douglas spent the rest of his career trying to escape the shadow of a song he recorded as an afterthought in 10 minutes. he never had another major hit. But for one strange moment in 1974, a throwaway karate joke dominated the entire world.
If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the...
Also known as the Pina Colada song, this 1979 hit tells the story of a bored husband who answers a personal ad looking for adventure, only to discover that the woman who placed the ad is his own wife, who was equally bored with him. Think about that premise for a moment. Both partners in a marriage are actively trying to cheat on each other. They accidentally discover their mutual infidelity, and the song treats this as a happy ending because at least they found each other again.
I've got to meet you by tomorrow noon.
Rupert Holmes wrote it as a filler track for his album and thought it was too silly to be a single. The label disagreed. Escape went to #1 in the final week of 1979 and became one of the most requested songs in radio history. Critics pointed out the deeply problematic message about relationships. Audiences did not care. They just wanted to sing about pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. The song proved that a catchy chorus can make people overlook absolutely anything, including mutual marital betrayal. When Olivia Newton-John released Physical in 1981, she was known for wholesome hits like I Honestly Love You and her role as the sweet Sandy in Grease. Physical was something else entirely. The song was so overtly sexual that many radio stations banned it outright. The lyrics left nothing to the imagination. Newton-John was singing about bodies and sweat and getting horizontal. Conservative groups protested. Parents complained. Radio programmers were genuinely unsure if they could play it on the air without getting fined. Physical stayed at #1 for 10 consecutive weeks, the longest run of the entire decade. It became the biggest hit of the 1980s. The controversy only made it more popular. Olivia Newton-John had transformed from America's sweetheart into something far more interesting, and the public could not get enough. The lesson was clear. Sometimes the best way to guarantee a #1 hit is to make something that terrifies the gatekeepers.
You go, there is a good and bad.
On paper, this should have been a guaranteed classic. Two of the greatest songwriters in popular music history collaborating on a message of racial harmony, Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder together at last. The result was a song so simplistic, so heavy-handed in its metaphor comparing piano keys to racial unity, that critics immediately dismissed it as well-intentioned nonsense. The lyrics were almost childlike in their directness. The production was smooth to the point of blandness. None of that stopped Ebony and Ivory from hitting #1 in 1982. And staying there for 7 weeks. Audiences embraced its hopeful message, even if the delivery was painfully obvious. Sometimes people just want to feel good, even if the song making them feel good is not particularly sophisticated. McCartney and Wonder were both capable of genuine brilliance. This was not it, but it sold millions of copies anyway. By 1985, the band, once known as Jefferson Airplane, then Jefferson Starship, had transformed into simply Starship and abandoned any pretense of artistic credibility. We Built This City was a corporate rock anthem about how rock and roll could never be controlled by corporations. The irony was apparently lost on everyone involved. The song was written by committee, with contributions from multiple professional songwriters. It was designed by focus groups and marketing departments to be as radio-friendly as possible. It name-checked San Francisco to give it authenticity while sounding like it was manufactured in a laboratory. We Built This City hit #1 in November 1985. Rolling Stone would later rank it the worst song of the 1980s. Blender magazine called it the worst song ever recorded. Multiple publications have used it as shorthand for everything wrong with corporate rock. And yet, it dominated the airwaves. People sang along enthusiastically. The song that critics consider the nadir of rock music was, for at least 1 week, the most popular song in America.
When Louise, tell anything you please. Myself already knows I'm...
In 1992, a mullet-wearing country singer from Kentucky released a song so simple that it only had 2 chords. The melody was repetitive to the point of parody. The lyrics were deliberately juvenile. Nashville insiders dismissed it as a novelty that would disappear within weeks. Aki Breaky Heart spent 5 weeks at #1 on the country charts and crossed over to the pop charts with equal success. It launched a line dance craze that swept across America. Billy Ray Cyrus became one of the most recognizable figures in music.
Don't tell my heart, I hate me very hard. I just
Largely on the strength of one incredibly basic song. Country purists were appalled. Music critics were baffled. But millions of Americans happily line danced in bars and wedding receptions across the nation, proving once again that sophistication has absolutely nothing to do with commercial success. The song made Cyrus a star and funded a comfortable life that eventually produced his daughter Miley. Sometimes a terrible song is just the beginning of something bigger.
let the dogs out. Who let the dogs out?
The Baha Men were a Bahamian group who had been performing Junkanoo music for over 20 years without any international success. In 2000, they released a novelty song built entirely around barking sounds and a single repeated question that nobody could answer. Who Let the Dogs Out was released as a joke. The band assumed it would be forgotten within weeks. Instead, it became the unofficial anthem of every sports stadium in America. It won a Grammy. It sold millions of copies. It became so ubiquitous that it achieved a kind of immortality through sheer repetition.
Who let the dogs out?
The song has been analyzed by musicologists trying to understand its appeal. There is no satisfying explanation. It is objectively annoying. The question it asks is meaningless. The barking sounds are grating. And yet, it conquered the world. Who Let the Dogs Out proved that sometimes a song does not need to be good. It just needs to be impossible to forget. The truth is, nobody knows what makes a song successful. Not the producers, not the radio programmers, not the critics. The biggest hits in history have often been the songs that everyone predicted would fail, and that is what makes music so beautiful and so unpredictable. Which of these unbelievable hits surprised you the most? Is there a number one song you still cannot believe actually happened? Tell us in the comments. This was Rock Memories, where the past still plays loud.